the Oz report for Saturday, September 25th, 2021. And let's start today with Abyssal Material. And quick heads up, this is going to be the I told you so episode of the Oz report, right? So let's get started with the Abyssal Materials, crystalline isogen 10 and 0-point condensate. Yes, I talk about these every week, but this is the week where I say the rally has really started. So 0-point condensate, together these two make up about 30 billion a day in market volume, and 0-point condensate is approaching the 50. It's pretty much there already in the 50K. And you know, 2-3 weeks ago this was trading in the 30s. So you could have already made a ton of money on this, and I certainly did. So what we're seeing now is we're seeing production starting again. We're seeing demand for trig ships through various events starting again, and this just shows that finally the prices are returning to somewhat normal, whatever that new normal is. That means goods that are produced from these materials, you can expect them to rise in value. So for example, some of them already happened, but this is more event driven. The Veles light entropic disintegrator, for example, is already at 139 million. If you look at recent trades, as recently as a couple of weeks ago, we were buying these at like 63, and then we were selling them for 78 last week, and then now we're selling them for 140 million. And you can see I already sold about 10 at that price, so it's not like they are not moving or anything, right? So the light entropic disintegrators and the heavy entropic disintegrators, two examples for modules that use a lot of these abyssal materials. They have slowly started to rise, but if this rally continues, they're going to be massively spiking back. So that's some good investment opportunities there. Ships like the Kikimora and the Damavik, you can see the absolutely insane volume that is going on both of these ships, right? Driven by the current events. This means that their prices are going to come under pressure as well if they rise. The margins on these have been entirely squeezed, if not already negative, with a 0-point condensate at 50K. So have a look out on that. On top of that, the interstellar navigation logs that are used to trade in for the blueprints, they have stopped their rapid drop, and they've recovered quite significantly. This means that the blueprint prices for Kikimoras, for example, are going to be rising again. They've been dropping for a long time, but that is probably over now. So if you look at a Kikimora blueprint, we're back at 8-9 million. A couple of weeks ago, even last week, we were more in the 5 or 6 million range. Okay, so that's Abyssal Materials. Let's talk the current event that is going on, the drone event. Yes, frigates and destroyers like the Damavik and the Kikimora are what can be used. Other ships that spiked in this scenario are the Astero and the Worm. These are both ships that have gone absolutely insane. They're both over 100 million in price now. If you look at currently Astero at 100 million, Worm just about at 100 million, up from the 75 million that we usually see for them, or that we have seen after the industry changes in April. So two ships that definitely spiked. On the other hand, so the Astero and the Worm, if you have them, just sell them. On the other hand, agency drugs have been rising a ton since the dreaded Christmas event. That was great for everyone that was buying these, but not great for investors. So the agency drugs pretty much all of them saw a low around Christmas, New Year's time. Since then, they've been rising steadily because there wasn't an event going on that dropped enough for them to really match the demand that there is for these in the market. And now with the event that was happening, and the agency drop that everyone gets, we are seeing a drop in price that is quite significant, actually. If you buy some of these on buy orders, then you can get some good prices. I've shown you some examples here: the overclocker and the pyro. These are very good investments right now if you get them on the buy price, and some of them even on the sell price. Check how they trade versus the last few months, and if they drop significantly below that, then jump in right now. This is the way they go. The agency drugs, they drop when an event is released, and then they come back. Okay. Drone mutaplasmids. I said that earlier on obelisks. Right now, you can see that they're going to be coming out with drone and drone damage amplifier mutaplasmids soon. At least that's what the test server is showing. And that means that we saw significant upticks here in augmented drones, specifically hammerheads, hobgoblins, vespas. They all saw huge spikes. So if you're holding those, sell them. And as I said earlier, that puts even more pressure on the rogue drone parts, the drone cerebral fragment and the lead drone AI, the only two really significant markets in that category. They were already spiking, and now they're spiking even more. And as I said earlier, this just looks fishy as hell. I want to believe that this is just increased production, but this really looks like somebody knew about this game change a month ago, because this rally just looks fishy as hell. Last week I told you about ice and fuel. Ice dropped because they just introduced more into the game. They just released more into the game. So if you're looking at isotopes, they significantly dropped from last week. All of them pretty much. Some of them more than others, but all of them dropped, and even strontium clathrates significantly dropped. That means that fuel is also cheap right now. It dropped from about the 30s or the high 20s into the low 20s, so significantly less fuel. It hasn't dropped enough, so don't. Some of these are still going to drop even more. So if you are looking for investing into them, then I suggest you wait a little bit. But then certainly at some point they're going to become a good investment again. Just look at the ratio between the drop in isotope prices and the drop in fuel block prices. They're not entirely, or that ratio is not the same for all of them. So you can look for some opportunities there. And then the last category, moon goo. The told you so part is here again. Thulium, one of the meme commodities that we're trading in our community. We all, hopefully you bought them with me, sub 25. They've now recovered quite nicely in the last few weeks, and so we're back at 27.5, 28. You can see here I'm liquidating my first sell order here at 28. That's quite nice. If you're holding this, 28 seems like a good time to sell. But with the crazy rallies that are going on, plus the inflation that we're seeing across the board, this could be going even higher than that. Then there's two more moon goos that I think are a good investment right now. Cesium on one hand. Cesium is on the buy side, trading at 10.5. This is fantastic down here. I think it can easily recover at any point in time to 12, 13, even 15. And these are very high volume markets, so you can actually realize your profits quite easily. Technetium, the same. It's been trading quite low, and it's due to come back at some point as well if production picks back up. Some single items that I'm going to mention is Federation Navy Fleet Colonel insignia. So this is the most traded insignia in the game. Okay, so this is an insane market. But what makes it even cooler is that you can see by the orange dot distribution that you can easily get buy or sell orders fulfilled. So this is actually an actively traded item, and the margin on it is always quite wide, right? So if you're looking for an insignia to trade in, this is your best bet. One of the best items to trade in. And the reason I'm mentioning it today is because we had a huge price drop, a huge spike and a price drop this week. So right now this is very, very hotly traded, and so check this out and see how it goes. Even right now you can see this insane margin going on right here. That inherent margin is alone is almost 20%. High grade Amulet Omega. Reason I'm mentioning those is because also here we saw a big price drop to a very 52-week, close to 52-week low territory. So this might be a good investment right now. Morphyte I have to talk about just because last year it was a last week we saw a patch that introduced more Morphyte into the game through Mercoxit. And that meant that we definitely would see a price drop. That's no surprise. However, you can see that it spiked, it came back from the 50s to the mid 60s. And that's an indicator for exactly what I said was going to happen last week, that people liquidated stockpiles. And so it was a market overreaction, which is now bouncing back. And that is, that is not surprising, but very interesting to see. Actually manifest, and so we're actually back up to quite a good and healthy Morphyte price, or healthy I guess is for the market to decide, but this seems like a good price for Morphyte. And then last but not least, I'm gonna end with I told you so on Obelisk. Last week I told you to buy Obelisks. They went from 3.1 billion to 3.8 billion. I have more than 100 billion in these invested, so I'm loving this. The buy price or the build price on these is still over 5 billion, by the way, even now with the new prices. And yes, mineral prices will drop in Q4 because CCP will introduce more minerals to the game, but it's not going to drop in a manner where I think these are going to be dropping below these. So either you already made good money on these and feel free to cash in. I'm holding on to them a little bit longer. Cool. All right, that's the Oz report for this week. We're going to return to the regular stream. Thanks for watching. See you guys next week.